this episode too, because it had so much Talos in it. And I also really liked the Fury scenes. You know, it's still not where it needs to be to perform like a Marvel show should. And it's one of those things that us like diehard fans are like, I kind of like it, but yet you understand why a lot of other people don't. And it's frustrating. But you know what's really frustrating? Talos better not be dead. Oh, I'm going to be so upset if he's dead. And darn it, the president was unconscious. So he didn't get to see that it was a Skrull who saved him. I was like, this is your moment, Talos, like you were just talking about with your daughter. But darn it, he's asleep. Somebody take a picture. Smile a little, Talos. Come on, let's do this. I really love Talos. And I think that while I can see why Ben Mendelsohn might want out of the MCU at this point, it's been so long. They haven't really done anything with him. Let's give him a last hurrah and let him loose, right? But I think it would be a big loss for the remaining 2 episodes of this show. I'm like, you're not going to make me watch a Talos-less Secret Invasion, are you? And also Skrulls in the MCU overall going forward if they lost Talos. I love that guy. I mean, just the scene with his daughter was so touching. You could feel their connection, his love for her, and also how grateful he was that she had come back to him. I mean, and he didn't have to really say anything. It was all with his eyes, that Ben Mendelsohn. But I don't think he made his case very well. I was like, you can do better than this, Talos. I understand where you're coming from, but you're not selling it. He needs to have a friend in publicity. I think he should point out that if they got their own planet, they would have to build up their own civilization from scratch. How long is that going to take? Which is why Gravik's plan of exterminating humanity and just moving into Earth is so appealing. But what's wrong with coexisting? This is starting to mimic, I think, some of our immigration debates today. And perhaps this show should have leaned into that a little bit more. I mean, it's already political. Let's go for it then. If you're going to draw parallels with immigration, let's do it. I do think that humans would be reluctant to let Skrulls move in, considering the havoc that shapeshifters can create. I mean, I'd be like, what? Who's here? And what do they want to do? They want to stay? I mean, they would take identity theft to a whole other level. Like Vara took over Priscilla's life with Priscilla's permission once Priscilla was done with it. Priscilla was unfortunately going to pass away, so Vara was like, can I take over? But why not? Why wouldn't another ambitious Skrull, although Vara was pretty ambitious, she's like, I'm going to land me a Nick Fury. But why not get rid of a celebrity, right, and take their place? Or a billionaire? I mean, you would think all the top people in society would actually be Skrulls. And they've been here for decades. None of them thought of this? And like, how are they going to catch each other? I mean, not one has gone rogue. I think this show maybe would have established that. What a missed opportunity. All right, so anyway, that's why I think Talos is right to make it clear to humanity how helpful Skrulls can be. To governments, but also, let's face it, criminal organizations and private organizations like corporate espionage. So it might be scary, but that doesn't mean there's not a silver lining to your new shape-shifting alien friends. I mean, you gotta stick a happy face on this because the situation's not going to change. Because like, how are you going to make Skrulls leave? You can't say no to them, especially now that they have super Skrulls. I mean, some of them would slip through and just escape into the world, hiding in plain sight. So you have to find a way to make it work. So you would make a truce, I think, that involves some kind of international organization to police Skrulls, like, I don't know, Saber. And work quite quickly to create some kind of technology to be able to easily identify them. Olivia Colman seems to have a strategy already, right? But, you know, maybe something that's not not quite as aggressive. But, you know, I think they could do it. I mean, I'll just bring it up as an example. I mean, look how quickly the vaccine was created, right? So I think they could come up with something that maybe wouldn't work 100% of the time, but would, you know, be a starting point. It would make everybody a little bit more comfortable. I did think that we got our coolest visual on the show to date, and not with the Super Skrulls, which just goes to show how poorly they're done, but a gravely injured Talos, desperately trying to keep his human form, but unable to. And so that was just, I think, done so well. I mean, not only visually, but with Ben Mendelsohn's acting. I felt for him. I mean, I was like, wow, he's really injured. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, wow, that guy's like, this is like a master class on acting with him. Fury sure felt bad about it. Woo, I've never seen Fury pause like that. Not with Maria Hill, not with his wife, Not with any of the adventures we've seen him on in the MCU. I mean, here, he finally went for the headshot with Gravik. That was great. That was great. I mean, it just showed how much he cared about Talos. I wish somebody had taken a picture of this so that if Talos isn't dead, he can see that Fury cares about him so much. Talos has been a professional and personal friend, a partner for half of Fury's life, at least. And I think Fury is a mix of emotions right now, right? Both disbelief that Talos actually fell. This guy's had so many close calls they both have had over the years. I mean, Fury was even blipped and that mofo came back. And now this is how Talos goes out. And then also I think guilt that Talos might have died fighting his own people to help Fury and humanity. I mean, ouch. That's amazing. I mean, what a tragic hero. Maybe Gaia can find him, right? Still with a pulse, and drag him to the Super Skrull machine. Or maybe she has a portable one, I don't know, so he can heal himself. I'll take whatever they come up with, I don't care. So yes, Gaia is a Super Skrull, as we all suspected late last week after her run-in with Gravik. We were like, no way she's dead, so I hope it's the same with Talos. Sure enough, she was smart enough to read the mind of that scientist in cold storage. You know, I was like, who is that? And you guys pointed out it was the scientist. But, you know, the scientist before, I guess she did the work on Skrulls, but at least it allowed Gaia to know how to work the lab. And she transformed herself. Too bad she threw a hissy fit and didn't ride point with her dad and Fury on this mission. It would have been nice to have a Super Skrull with us, I'm just saying. So she's going to feel pretty guilty, too. How is Rhodey going to explain his behavior, though? I mean, is his security detail Skrulls as well? And clearly not Super Skrulls, as that dude's arm is still really injured after trying to escort Fury out, and that did not go well. But I was like, whoa, Rhodey. I mean, we found out it's a female Skrull posing as Rhodey. We all thought from the trailers that was Gaia, but when they were showing close-ups of her face, I was like, that's not Emilia Clarke. And it's not, it's a different female Skrull posing as Rhodey. And she's a very good actress, by the way, because her Rhodey is looser than the other human Skrulls have replaced. They usually have a stiffness to them. They're like, oh yes, I am the human. But she's going for it. She's doing scene work. And she's getting pretty brazen on the job as well, aka sloppy. But not so sloppy that she doesn't have incriminating footage of Fury to keep him in line. So that's partially why Gravik killed Maria Hill as Fury in episode 1. Very clever. But no other Russian security cameras picked that up? Nobody in the crowd saw it? Was Maria Hill's death not investigated? And I really liked Fury's second conversation with Rhodey. The first one didn't feel right, and that's because Fury at that point didn't totally know. I don't even know if he had an inkling quite yet of who he was dealing with. But now he knows. So this was great. This was the Fury we know and love. And Pappy Van Winkle, by the way, is a real, very rare brand of whiskey. Fantastic touch. I loved that. That was some of the best writing I've seen on this show. That was fantastic. And Samuel L. Jackson, he can really work with stuff like that, as we've seen before. And while Fury doesn't poison Rhodey, he does slip fake Rhodey the liquid tracker that he made a joke about. He's like, oh, there's a liquid tracker in there. And, you know, Rhodey at first, fake Rhodey didn't want to drink it because, you know, he was suspicious. But when Fury made it seem that his angle was that he had a lead on a possible Skrull in the government, Rhodey then felt, okay, I can contain him with the threat of this footage. Although I thought it was pretty clear when Fury said, this person's as close to the president as you are to me right now. I was like, he's calling you a Skrull, man. But as I said, fake Rhodey, very brazen, very self-assured, isn't even looking for this. They feel they've got Fury under control. And so, again, they're being sloppy. But then, because of the liquid tracker, that's how Fury and Talos are able to be there when the president is attacked. And here also, it was great to see Fury in action again, the way he's supposed to be. Always on top of things, always with a trick up his sleeve, thanks to his super friends. You know, when he shouts out to the soldiers, this weird thing's with me. They're like, oh, it's another Avenger or alien or whatever. It was great. What a cool way for Fury to be. What a cool calling card, right? And also that the soldiers have that kind of faith in him. They're like, that seems bizarre, but I trust Fury. He's a few steps ahead, able to impressively maneuver when they're like, Fury's here. It's like, how is he here? And he's like, because he's Fury. And the way he was able to get to the president, I love that. You know, when he had the 2 columns of soldiers to guide them. I've never seen that actually before. And I don't know if that's a regular military move, but I've seen a lot of movies and TV shows, and I've never seen anyone use that before, and I thought that was great. Maybe hearing his wife call him a washed-up loser who was ready to die was the kick in the pants that he needed. He also almost got a bullet in the head. I like that they both fired and intentionally missed. That was some real Mr. and Mrs. Fury stuff there. And I loved Fury's follow-up line, I don't know if we should get divorced or renew our vows. I go with renew their vows. I think it would have worked better if Priscilla was also an active agent in the field, and she must have been. She was a Skrull working for Fury. We saw her pass him some information. But I wish we would get to see that too, as well as the romantic moments. You know, a woman truly Fury's equal, you know, who was Mrs. Fury. But I feel in this episode overall, Fury finally let his guard down with two people, with Talos and Vara. And now we're starting to really get to know him. Now we finally are in episode 4. It also shows how few people Fury has really let in all these years. Just the two! And he's so guarded that he views it as a mistake, as a weakness, as he says to Vara. And maybe that's why he's so mean to Talos and keeps him at arm's distance. That's why these two relationships are so damaged, but it makes it all very interesting and real. What was not interesting were the Super Skrulls. So poorly realized. I'm so disappointed. You know, what we saw in the trailer was really all that we got. A little extension, but I was like, what? And also he turns himself into a tree instead of just kind of having the powers of a tree. I'm not quite sure how that would work. I mean, that's like Groot doesn't turn himself into a tree. He is a tree. So unless you became a tree, that didn't make any sense to me. That didn't quite work. But we've only now seen 2 of the 4 powers. I guess Cull Obsidian is just more strength. But what about the Frost Beast stuff? I'm disappointed. And why don't they expel heat instead of just using Extremis to heal? Also, I'm sure some Skrulls got killed in that crossfire. There were a lot of people dropping on both sides. So I was like, don't they immediately turn green? And wouldn't the jig be up that this was actually a Skrull operation? Also, were they speaking Russian? I was like, is that Skrullese or whatever your language is? Or is that Russian? You guys don't have, it didn't seem like that much of a Russian operation to me. But anyway, as soon as someone dropped and turned green, which we know they do, why weren't some of the soldiers like, what's going on? Quick, we have intel. And I didn't see any, and also when they left, I didn't see any of the Skrulls working to get the Skrull bodies out of the downed helicopters. I was like, what if they don't completely burn up? There's going to be aliens in there, or clear them just from the battlefield. That seemed like a real break in logic to me. Also, why not just shoot Rhodey in front of the president, right? Even if Rhodey is the Super Skrull, they would still use Extremis to heal, and then the president would know it was a fake Rhodey. And then the president would realize it's something that was really going on here. I was like, that's what I would do, quite frankly. Also, the president isn't dead yet, so we still don't know how we end up with President Ross in Captain America 4. Maybe there's just been another election at that point. So maybe Skrulls were a campaign point about how to handle them. But I sure hope Talos isn't dead. And Fury now knows about Super Skrulls. That was a great look on his face. Wow, he was like, wow, that is a surprise, even for Fury. That's going to be a real pain in the butt to take care of. But, you know, if Pepper Potts could kill Aldrich Killian at the end of Iron Man 3, I'm sure Fury could take out these Super Skrulls. But I'm curious to see how he's going to do it. I really hope I hope Talos doesn't die, and I hope he becomes a Super Skrull. So what do you think? 2 episodes left, just 2. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.